How y'all doing? How y'all doing? My name is Rico Simmons, right? I want to say I was around about 12 years old uh, when I was basically friends with Andre Roland. Uh, Me and Andre, when we started off, we met each other. I was living in Pratersville, Kent Drive. Me and my friend Carlos Brown, and we first met each other. We probably kind of was slightly enemies to an extent, I would say. But then it came down to me getting to know him and him getting to know me, and we found that we were really cool with each other. Like, we became really close friends when it comes down to it. I didn't go to Jeff Jr. I believe at the time I was going to Oakland, so I lived in a different area, so I didn't get to go to Jeff Jr. But what I get from that, we had fun. I'll just put it that way. He was like a brother to me. I was raised the only child, so with me it was kind of boring in my house, and friends were a big thing for me. He was the best, the coolest guy to be around. I'll tell you that. At the time, we both had sisters that we dated. So he dated one sister, I dated the other sister, and when we were young, probably right before or right when he was going to Jeff Jr., we had a house. We had an apartment. we lived in an apartment, and everybody finds that funny or weird, or how did you have an apartment? Well, we had an abandoned apartment that we actually used to go in there. The electricity was on and everything, so we used to cook food. We kind of had our home away from home, if you want to call it that. We had a lot of fun. When it comes down to it, I also lived, well, my cousins, the Flemings, they lived near him. And, where his mother actually lived. He used to just come over to, I believe, his cousin's house and spend the night. And that's how we first met. But once I realized that actually he lived in the neighborhood my cousins lived in, then we, started kicking it then. At that time, he was dating a girl named Brandy Mutz, and I was from Detroit. Well, actually, I'm from Detroit, and I moved from Detroit to Miami, Florida, and then to little bitty old Columbia, Missouri. And so in Columbia, Missouri, I tend to start to notice racism. Like, I never seen racism the way I've seen it in Clearview. It was a clear, decisive thing that black and white don't mix there. It's like water and oil. I everything I could think of him and remember about him, we had fun. We were, there's nothing bad that I could even think of about Andre at all. He was, I could say, more perfect than I was at that time. I was a bad kid. So I miss him greatly because, the day when we were on the bus and I said, hey, all of this stuff that's going on, all of this and that, we're getting dropped off. I'm getting dropped off at my cousin's house, and he's getting dropped off at his own house. And, he had told me about what he was going to go do, and, Brandy Mutz and blah, 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 meeting in the woods, and I told him, I was like, man, I don't think you should go anywhere. I think you should leave her alone, and, this or that. That was the last time I saw him alive, and, that was a painful thing at the age of 12 because, people don't know, but I'm the only child to my mother. And, that took my brother away from me. You know, the one person, you know, although I had my cousins there, you know, me and Andre hung out more than my cousins did. And well, I ain't gonna say more, but you know, that's who I hung around a lot. You know, and then at my cousin's house, I think we were at Eric Hicks' house, who was another person that stayed out in Clearview. And that day just seemed ominous. It was a weird day. You know, the sun shined different and everything else. And, you know, it was just the most surprising thing to even think about. You know, like, you know, the hate had turned into aggression. And when it comes down to that, you know, it's something that will always resonate with me throughout my life. I mean, it will. I'll never forget it, you know, because they took my brother from me. They took my big brother from me. And, you know, the hatred, the anger, you know, the frustration of knowing that, you know, nobody came to justice for it, that they lied about a lot of stuff, you know, it kind of just really drove me into a combative state, I would say. You know, after he passed, then I lost my grandmother, so it was a lot of stuff. You know, people probably knew me back then and said, "Hey, that dude's crazy," because I mean, there's nothing you could tell me. I lost almost everything that, you know, from God's green earth that I took to heart. You know, I just kind of wanted to say that. I don't want to bring up old things, but you know, it was a hurtful situation. It's something that traumatized me, and I think it traumatized everybody in that generation that knew him. You know, it's not an easy thing to just, you know, to deal with, to understand, to know that happened, and know that you are powerless over the situation. You know, only to have another situation happen where, you know, in that neighborhood we lived in, we had Grand Klux Klan wizards that lived there. They used to chase people with Klan outfits on. You know, it was a terrible thing. I'll just put it that way. I don't know what else I could say without crying, but I'm gonna say it like this. You know, at some point, the people that caused this or kept their mouth shut about it, it's gonna be found out. And, you know, pretty much their days are gonna be the worst days on this planet. You know, and it's not through retaliation, and don't take my words as a threat, but I want you to know that God is going to make sure that he rights the wrongs. And you know, I'm sorry I couldn't do this video faster, but you know, because you know, that's my brother, that's my big brother. You know, I really looked up to him for the things that he was doing in the school, and his athletic ability. You know, that's what we thrived on at that time. You know, I wasn't too shabby myself, but I wasn't quite, you know, Andre. But when it comes down to it, I love him, I miss him, and I hope everybody, you know, gets this and understands this for what it is. I love you.